Welcome everyone to another episode of Around the Block Talk. Today we have with us Pooja Kadia. She has been in the industry of blockchain and Web3 from the past 6 years and has worked with over 180 crypto projects, crypto and blockchain projects. And she is a content writer and author in this space. I'm very happy to have you here with us, Pooja, and
Thank
I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an honor, first of all. So a little bit about me. I hail from a completely non-technical background. I basically studied engineering and masters in planning. I even worked with a real estate firm for about 1 year or so. And then I moved to my family business where I worked alongside my father in his cloth merchant business, totally out of my field. I spent around 2.5 years over there. And meanwhile, one of my friend kept pestering me about Bitcoin and just learn about Bitcoin, just learn about what blockchain is and Ethereum is. And I just started reading it out of interest. And during my research, I found that at that point, around 2016, there weren't many sources on the internet that sort of explored the dynamics of blockchain, its use cases, what cryptocurrencies are, its potential, so on and so forth. And so with that in my mind, I decided to start my own blog. I kept the name as Cryptochain Sphere, and this was purely meant to be an educational blog where we basically explained the concept behind Bitcoin, its mechanism, how it's working, its foundation of blockchain, etc. And as in when I was writing this, I came in contact with an editor at Hackanoon, who liked my work, who liked the work that I was doing, and he asked me to publish a couple of blogs which were already there on Cryptochain Sphere onto Hackanoon, and he also assigned me as a brands as author on the Hackanoon blog. And so yeah, from there my blogs were published on their website, and this sort of started the momentum of my career in blockchain. And so over the years now, fast forward to nearly 6 years that I have been in this space, I have worked in a variety of different roles with more than 180 crypto and blockchain projects, from planning content strategy to assisting them during their launch, to kickstarting their projects with pitch deck, websites, white paper, etc. I have drafted almost PR and newsletters to almost all publications, including Forbes, Cointelegraph, Investing.com, and more in this space. I've ghostwritten around 3 full-length books on the subjects of DeFi, trading in cryptocurrencies, and Bitcoin. And I'm now working with a publisher to publish my first book, which will be discussing the scope of Ethereum, its technicals. And I think we're looking forward to publishing this book by the end of this year. I've also had the privilege to work alongside a professor from Frankfurt College of Germany, and together we devised a course that was catering to blockchain, trade finance, finance applications in blockchain. Yeah, so that's pretty much what's happened, pretty much what's happening, and I really look forward to what's coming next for me.
That's great to know, Pooja. So you have quite some experience in different fields within the scope of blockchain. So definitely this is going to be an interesting talk. And so let's move on to our topic of discussion today. And so starting with the career opportunities and how our students can grab them. So we'll start with that.
So basically, before we start, like how to really kickstart your career in the Web3 and blockchain space, and I'm getting a lot of these questions around this time. The first thing to understand is these 3 misconceptions that I feel people have when they're looking to start their career in the blockchain space. And one of them is sort of education, in the sense that people really restrict themselves to what field they have been in and how they'll jump to blockchain now. They already have an education in some another domain. So the first point to sort of erase from your mind is that you don't have to limit yourself. Education would be a nice foundation, but not necessarily a box to be sort of contained yourself in. So the first aspect to start with is that whether you have been pursuing your education in any field, you can of course jump to the blockchain space, and there are a lot of things to do. The second conception that I have have been asked repeatedly is that people think that blockchain is very technical. It's like complex coding, and how do I don't know anything about coding, and how do I make a career out of it? So let me tell you that coding is, of course, one of the aspects of blockchain and what you can do in the blockchain and crypto space. But apart from that, there are a lot of things, including marketing, content, community management, project management. So it's not that you necessarily need to have any coding skills. I don't have any coding skills when it comes to, I don't know how to code at all. So it's not that you have to learn the technical parameters of blockchain to understand what you can do in the space, etc. So there's absolutely no need for that. And the third is, if you are looking to actually develop a career in this space, the first thing you have, the thing that you have to understand is that you will have to give your time and energy to it. It's not going to be an overnight success. You have to read what you have to understand the space. You have to read what's happening in the space. You have to keep up with the developments that's happening in the space. And from there on, eventually it sort of just weaves itself. So that were basically the three misconceptions that I feel whenever somebody asks me this question. Usually one or two questions they have is about this. Now, if you do want to kickstart your career in the Web3 and blockchain space, I would advise the first thing would be to get a little bit familiar with the space, in the sense that, you start reading about digital assets, you understand what the technology is, understand what the Web3 is, what it represents, how it's likely to change your future, how it's likely to going to change the global economy, or the tech space. So just to understand the broader implications and to get familiar with what actually the technology is. The second is, you have to start exploring the ways in which you will be able to leverage your expertise at its best in what you've been doing till now. In the sense, like I said, that there are several different dynamics that you can do in the space, right from just being a content writer to actually managing the content strategy. And even if you look at content as a subdomain in what you can do in the blockchain space, there are still so many different aspects. In the sense, there are there's PR, there's news, there's white paper, there's pitch deck, there's Medium blog articles that you write about projects, and then there's also general informational content that you write on academies. So the best thing would be to just look at what different areas that are already there in the space, right from content to community management to managing the project, finishing the deadlines, how a blockchain project can be launched, to even marketing. Because when you look at marketing in blockchain space, it is very different from what is there in the traditional space. There's an entirely different game being played when you consider marketing for crypto and blockchain projects, and then you do marketing for any traditional projects, right? So I think the best would be to just sort of look at all of these different subdomains that we already have in blockchain, and sort of start looking at where you would be able to best leverage what your expertise already is. And yeah, so let's say, for example, you're interested in content writing for different blockchain projects. So but the first part would be to just sort of start reading on what's there on the good publications like Cointelegraph. What sort of news are they producing? How is the block structure going to be? If you're looking at writing for blockchain projects itself, you have to start looking at what blockchain projects are there in the space, what the medium blogs are being published on, what information do they contain, how are they structured upon. Check out all the news articles that are there on the websites. So all of these things would be a good point to start, because like I said, that whether it's content writing, whether it's marketing, things differ a lot in the blockchain space. So the best would be to understand what's happening in the space, to understand how projects portray their information, to understand how news articles are being written. And also what really helped me out when I was starting out was that whenever I used to read a certain information piece, even if it's just for content writing, it was never that I was just reading it, paraphrasing it, and then rewriting it in my own sense. It really helped me when I was understanding the concept, when I was understanding the fundamentals. For example, let's say you're writing something for blockchain use cases in supply chain. You actually understand what the use cases in for blockchain in supply chain are, and then if you go and start writing about it, that would make a much more sense. Also, it's good to look at a beginner's perspective, for somebody who's just starting out, to make it as simple and as understandable as possible, right? So once you have educated yourself enough to sort of just see where you want to leverage your expertise in, how you want to progress, the second step would be to keep on practicing it. Now if you're talking about content writing, the first step would be to start publishing blogs on your own blog. uh, just keep practicing it, because the first one is obviously not going to be good. Your first code may not be good. The first place where you do your community moderation is not going to be that good, but eventually, as and when you practice it, it's going to improve itself. And the best aspect out of this is you get to build your own portfolio, and that is one of the things that I have I feel that has helped me a lot. Is basically that over the years, when I started writing for other projects, making a content strategy for other projects, I eventually started to build my portfolio. So the first 9 jobs, or landing the 9 gigs, were tough, but it was really easy to land the 10th gig, because my history sort of proved itself. So it's always good to start practicing it. If you're writing, just write it on your own blog, start approaching clients, and just start sending them all of these samples that you have. It will be really easy to start gradually building your portfolio from there. And once you do that, you'll start that, once you've already have your portfolio, enough gigs that you've already done, you would find that it's really easy to get approached. It's really easy to land your next gig. And yeah, so basically just sort of practice and also learn, because when we look at the space, we know that how rapidly it's changing, right? There are trends that's rapidly moving, and we've seen how it started, right from privacy coins to defi, and then play to earn, move to earn, everything. So there's a lot of developments that are happening very rapidly in the space. So also the key factor would be to learn as much as possible as and when you're doing, to sort of just keep following up with what's happening. And yeah, that's basically, so how you can at least kickstart your career in blockchain, and then eventually, as and when you move, it'll, like I said, it'll sort of start unweaving itself. It'll sort of start presenting you the opportunities. So yeah, that's pretty much how I look at my experiences and what I learned when I was starting out. What experiences really helped me with this whole career building thing. Yeah, so that's basically how I would say.
Indeed, thank you for that advice, Pooja, because we would have students also watching our show, and that definitely, since it is an emerging technology and emerging space, there's a lot of information or misconceptions out there. A lot for students also. So that would definitely something very helpful. So now we can move to the next uh, topic of discussion that we have, would be the creator economy and how creators are benefiting from, also how they're able to better monetize their content and materials to play to earn, to create to earn. So let's move to that.
Okay, so Web3, as we know today, is going to change a lot of fundamentals. It's going to change a lot of verticals of the economy, and it is largely going to change how we create and transfer the value, right? Especially online, of course. So one of the areas that we can see a radical shift that will happen, and the value that Web3 would bring, would be the creator economy. So the creator economy basically would consist of content creation of all kinds, whether it's of all kinds, whether it's influencers, whether it's musicians, artists, gamers, practically anybody who is producing content, exchanging content, interacting with content, sharing it with their fans. And during the pandemic, we saw how this got accelerated, right? We saw how many creators jumped into this digital online space, started producing content in a variety of different ways, and started engaging with their audience. But as we know, that the internet infrastructure that we already have today sort of restricts the maximum potential that this economy could produce. And moreover, it restricts how the creators themselves can actually leverage their content to the maximum or optimum use or value, and it also restricts how users can actually consume the content that is produced, right? So whether it's uploading video, writing a blog, we know that with today's infrastructure, we have seen how a large chunk of whatever, whether it's engagement, whether it's monetary value, everything goes to the big tech platforms. And they have been the ones that have been able to get the maximum benefit out of something that they don't really have, they don't really contribute anywhere from creators to fans, right? So the first thing that web3 is going to change is, of course, this, that the creator will themselves have the ownership over their content. They don't have to share their royalties with anybody. They don't have to give a share of what they're producing, even in terms of monetary value, to any third party platforms. With big tech platforms, we've also seen how there's a lot of piracy and duplication of content, right? In the sense that you don't know how your content gets pirated, duplicated, and then you don't get to share the value of that, right? So web3 will fundamentally bring change to two of these parameters. First is, of course, the ownership to your content, which will be clearly defined in the web3. And secondly, the piracy factor, because the content license will be captured on the blockchain in the very essence of its code. The copying or even the reposting of that content will significantly be more difficult. So you can ensure that, one is, whenever you are producing any sort of content, you get the maximum share or the maximum value that you are producing inherently out of it. Secondly, it would be very difficult for anybody to copy, repost, or pirate your content, and that sort of gives you back the ownership of what you can do with your content, right? And thirdly, it would also open up a new innovation in terms of how you can share this value. For example, for creators like musicians or even NFT creators, royalties can actually be shared between all of these group of people that you already have, and all of these conditions are very inherently embedded within the smart contracts, right? So they can initiate payments to, for example, whether you're a musician, you can initiate payments to your composer, you can initiate payments to the performer, and all of this is all of these conditions are already feeded within the smart contract. So there would not be any need for any third party platforms to do this for you, any third party platforms to take a share. So that would basically be the two fundamentals that would redefine the creator economy because of web3. But even apart from that, we are now seeing how metaverse, NFTs, web3, and of course creator economy sort of just weaving its way through it. We see how these three parameters are inherently connected, right? And of course, the potential of it. Recently, I read a report which stated that metaverse is now going to be a $5 trillion opportunity. We've seen the increasing trading volume of NFTs and everything, right? So basically, all of this would sort of also bring innovations that till now the Web2 space could never offer the creator economy in general. For example, one of them could be exclusivity, right? Your fans could actually have the NFT gated access to the content that you produce. Of course, it would be a souvenir, right? That your fans can say that, okay, I've attended this concert and this is my NFT, and it sort of acts like a souvenir to say that you've actually attended the concert. But it can actually also support unique innovations and experiences, like access to private groups and doing private messaging with the creators. So you not only get this new innovation, this small bits of innovation, or souvenirs, or NFTs as collectibles for your content, but also it opens up doorways like giving private access or one-on-one with the fans. So all of this, apart from that, it also opens up new ways of how interaction, how you can interact with your creator or with your fans, which Web2 did not significantly offer. And all of these interactions can happen without we've already seen how Web2 platforms repeatedly, in a number of instances, we've seen how the privacy and the security of platforms is compromised, of your content is compromised. But Web3 sort of gives this inherent property of not sacrificing your privacy, and also engaging in these unique interactions, with all of these interactions also being recorded on the blockchain. And thirdly, I also feel that web 2 was about how it was built, how to scale up. But now web 3 will actually bring up new opportunities to niche down, in the sense that with these new innovations, even low cost, more security, elimination of piracy, even ownership rights, all of this would actually make it possible to bring micro communities, serve smaller niches that were not really possible in web 2. And that's a fundamental shift uh, where communities could actually niche down on a very specific micro niches which were not really possible with web 2. So that's what I feel, that how, apart from catering to these two, about ownership and piracy, apart from that, even the innovations that together metaverse with NFTs, with the creator economy and web3 is going to bring to the overall space. And of course, we have seen how the creator economy is actually, I think recently I read that over 50 million people joined the creator economy just during the pandemic. And this is only going to be accelerated because we've seen how the digital space and digital arena is growing so fast. And I feel that these innovations are going to help bring maximum value to the creators, maximum value to the fans, and moreover, how the content, the value of the content that is created and shared. So that's what I feel, how Web3 is going to help the creator economy in general.
Right, indeed. So that was indeed an in-depth analysis of it. So some things that you mentioned, one point would be the data ownership, another
Mhm.
point being the NFT and how that actually offers a new medium for the creator to connect uh, with their followers, and
Mhm.
it's because it's digital, it's dynamic in nature. A number of things is possible over there, and
Exactly.
so now indeed, and now coming uh, to the create to earn or play to earn aspect of this creator economy. So core one core benefit of this could be a better distribution of value. So the value today is being captured by these platforms primarily, and not so much by the content creators or even the consumers. So
Mhm.
one thing that this would like to do is better distribute the value. So we would really like to know your thoughts on how this play to earn or create to earn economy is emerging, and how does that effectively distribute the value better among the stakeholders.
Of course. So basically, uh, we see that in today's era of information, we've seen everything coming on blockchain. With NFTs, we saw how artists were coming onto blockchain, and with play to earn, we saw how gamers came onto blockchain, right? Fundamental benefit that I felt was with NFTs and this play to earn economy and gamers was that till now, whenever where the traditional gaming industry or any traditional industry has been such that the maximum value goes to the platform that it's being produced, right? So whenever any gamer plays a game like Fortnite or anything, the assets that you earn, whether it's in-game assets like skins, whether it's any weapons that you earn, whether it's an avatar that you earn, it's never going to belong to you, right? It's always going to belong to the platform. But with NFTs and with blockchain, this play to earn sort of uh, radically shifted this whole trend. The first enticing factor was that all the assets that you earn within the game actually belong to you as NFTs. I can decide what I can do with it. Either I can sell it on a secondary platform and make some money out of it. Either I keep it as a souvenir to say that I am the avatar, or I am the gamer who has these NFT assets, and I have the proof of ownership of those NFT assets right there on the blockchain, right? So the first enticing factor was that the assets that you earn within the game stay with you, instead of you actually spending your money on those assets, earning it, but then eventually that assets never belong to you, right? In traditional gaming platforms, those assets always belong to the gaming company or the platform, and eventually whatever money you spend upon, it's done. You're never going to get that asset back. But of course, with blockchain, we saw how um, those NFT assets that you earn actually belong to you. And of course, when we speak about ownership, we have the proof of ownership right there recorded on the blockchain saying that this NFT asset actually belongs to me, right? Secondly, the play to earn factor, of course, started with how Axie Infinity brought the whole game. But the basic premise was that players and gamers can actually make money out of it. Whenever I talk with somebody, I've recently spoke with some of the gamers in the space. I came across the fact that they're not much more interested in what the money aspect sort of it, that you can play and earn, but the one factor that really entices them is how the ownership of your assets belong to you. And that's one of the things that play to earn brought. Having said that, I also feel that we are still at a very naive sort of a space, in the sense there's a lot of maturation that needs to happen, whether you talk in terms of gameplay, whether you talk in terms of graphics, whether you talk in terms of the hours of gameplay, because we're still at a very primary stage. And as compared to that, when you look at all of these gaming platforms that have already established themselves, they're at a much larger and wider scale than we see the blockchain games. But having said that, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of value in what play to earn brought, and I would also say that play to earn got the gamers of the creator economy, what we just spoke about, brought the gamers to the creator economy. So of course there's a lot of value there in the space, of course, but also there's a lot of maturation that needs to happen in terms of gameplay, in terms of graphics, in terms of gaming development, everything. With talking about from game to earn, to move to earn, is basically, we saw that how artists were coming on blockchain with NFTs. We saw how gamers were coming on blockchain with play to earn. But now this play to earn factor is sort of extending itself apart from or beyond online games, right? We have seen this new trend called move to earn, where it's basically related to exercise, healthcare, and fitness industry, which is also coming on to blockchain. So what move to earn basically is that it merges gameplay with the fitness industry, and it rewards you for moving. So basically with play to earn, we saw that how gamers can earn money by playing these games. But now with move to earn, we are saying that how people can make money by performing certain activities, any fitness exercises, right? Like walking, jogging, even dancing. We're also seeing a lot of innovations that are happening in the space. And of course, even with move to earn, there's this aspect of NFTs, whether it's in form of sneaker NFTs, where basically before you onboard the application of any move to earn, you have to purchase an NFT sneaker, and then as and when you move, you earn the native tokens of that platform, right? So even those NFTs aspect is integrated into this move to earn. And that's one of the trends that I have seen recently developing, or into something more, maybe developing into something more of the way we saw how play to earn industry moved. And the third aspect that I'm also seeing as a trend is basically learn to earn. And as the name suggests, is basically that you get value, or you earn certain rewards for participating in quiz, for answering any question to a video, for learning something, and then answering the questions. I feel that all of these trends, of course, we're still at a very early stage of what's of really to predict what's going to happen, of really to predict how the space is going to mature. I feel that they're integrating value which we did not have previously before. These values are coming in terms of NFTs, values in terms of ownership, in terms of earning rewards. I mean, I would have never thought I'd get reward just to exercise. I would earn some tokens just to exercise. So I feel that a lot of these new trends are bringing value, are bringing new ways to innovate. We don't know where the trend is going to go. Even the learn to earn factor, I think it's great that people can just earn some rewards by answering some quiz, or just maybe if I'm an expert at something, just write something, and then I can earn rewards off of it. So a lot of these aspects and a lot of these trends and dynamics are already happening. Yeah, let's see like how the trend is eventually going to further down. Yeah, of course there's a lot of maturation that needs to happen in this space.
Very rightly pointed indeed. So these kind of economies that are emerging today with play to earn, move to earn. So within these economies, uh, the user is basically rewarded and motivated, and the experience of the user becomes more gamified
Mm-hmm.
to actually participate in this. So
Mm-hmm.
one aspect of it is that it's enabling earning for its user and the ecosystem. So what we would like to understand is how is this economy being driven? Where is the inflow coming from, basically? Because now everyone is earning, and so where does that? How does that economy move in what fashion?
Economy in the sense, are you saying like the users, how the users will move in what fashion?
In the sense that where does the money come from? Like if where is the inflow of this value coming from? Say if I have to reward all the users on my platform with a token, and so that has a monetary benefit. But where does the inflow come from to support this kind of economy?
Okay, so basically, that's like a very value based token economics merged into this. Okay, so whenever I participate into any of these trends or any of these platforms, I would be entitled to a reward in the form of their native token, right? As and when I move and perform these exercises, or as and when I move or perform in these games, right? So these inflow or the value that is being generated is in the form of an in-game token, which is their native token, but also that is the fundamentals, or I should say the strong fundamentals of this is actually weaved into a very good tokenomics integrated with gameplay, right? In the sense that of course the token utility, which would be the first primary factor, in the sense how is that token utility, how is that inherent token going to gain utility within that ecosystem. Second is the supply and demand aspects of it, how the tokenomics is structured, in the sense that what is the supply and what is the demand, and how that price is going to move up and down depending on the tokenomics that is formed. That would be the second aspect of this whole inflow gaming. But because it's not just the supply and demand factor of it, but it's also how that token is going to gain value within the ecosystem, right? Yeah, so that's basically, does that answer your question?
Right, indeed. So basically, like in play to earn, these new players who are onboarding to the game, they buy these NFTs from the already skilled and
Okay.
established player. I think.
Right. So basically, there are two things. One is there are some platforms that offer free to play and play to earn. Free to play is basically that if I come into any gaming platform, I'll be given a certain amount of NFTs, a certain amount of pre-game tokens that I can use, and that's on me how I want to utilize that within the game. But to accelerate ahead, to gain certain exclusive benefits within the game, to gain certain exclusive assets within the game, or to unlock certain portals, unlock certain opportunities, I have to buy those tokens, or I have to buy that specific asset in terms of NFTs. That is about play to earn. The second is move to earn, right? Right now the ecosystem, if you look at it, it's basically that I have to buy the NFT sneakers, after which I can participate in this whole move to earn economy. In the sense, for example, if we look at the most famous game in the move to earn economy, which is Steppen, I have to buy those NFT sneakers first. Once I buy those NFT sneakers, I can start participating on the platform, and then I start to gain rewards in the form of their native token, which is GMT. There are two native tokens. But at the same time, I have also seen some move to earn platforms that offer you an early access to participate in the platform, but at the same time the opportunities or the rewards are limited. You cannot actually gain access to the full potential of what the platform offers, because to unlock certain things, to unlock certain gems, to unlock certain levels or to level up, I have to purchase those sneakers, I have to purchase those NFTs, and only then I can level up. So not all games, not all blockchain games are free to play. The games that are free to play only have a certain amount of gameplay within them, after which I have to purchase certain things to unlock those opportunities, unlock those portals. So yeah, there are two aspects to it.
Indeed. So the revenue model remains the same. It's just that distribution is taking place at this point, where the users are getting rewarded for their activity.
Yes.
So right, indeed. So also now coming to the business models around the platforms that we have today. So in Web two, it's one major model is advertising, and also subscriptions. So with advertising, they are using your data and analyzing your data, and that is how most of these platforms are functioning. So how does that business model get affected in Web three? Because the entire paradigm of data being owned by the platform changes to that individual owning the data. How does it change that, and how will it benefit the ecosystem?
Right. So basically, even the free to play games that are right there in the market, it won't be that they won't have advertisements. There are free to play games who have certain, in the sense that they have this in videos things inside them. Whether you, when you start the game and everything, you'll have to watch the video for a certain amount of seconds before you can proceed to another thing. There may be also advertisements with their NFTs, right? Because okay, so one is these free to play games won't not have the advertisement, completely not have the advertisement models. No, they'd have some certain type of advertisement models, I think, to gain revenue. And the second aspect of this business model is the NFTs itself, right? Most of the blockchain games that you see on the market also have a marketplace within them. All of these NFTs that you see on these blockchain games have a certain value to it. Whenever you want to level up, whenever you want to unlock certain things, you have to buy those things, right? Which was never there in Web 2 traditional gaming platforms. Of course, you had to buy those NFT assets, not NFT, but you have to buy those assets like in-game skins and everything. But the major form of revenue was, of course, advertisements, right? So the business model of Web3 blockchain games would be two things. One would be the NFTs, because you have to purchase some certain sort of NFTs to move yourself up in the game. Second would be, of course, the in-app videos, because for free to play games especially, this would be a certainty, because how are they going to monetize their business model if they are giving things for free? So they will be having some certain type of advertisement models, where maybe you have to watch a certain kind of video for certain seconds, and then you move on to the next level. And the third, of course, would be the token, right? Usually when you look at these blockchain games, there are certain tokens reserved for gameplay, and then there are certain tokens that are circulating in the market for a variety of different aspects. So um, these tokens that you consider are actually an in-game asset when you look at blockchain games, right? For example, in traditional gaming, you have something in-game assets like gold. Over here, you would also have a token which is weaved itself into the game, right? And the supply and demand dynamics. So I feel that the business revenue model of Web3 blockchain gaming platforms hinges upon certain forms of advertisements, NFTs that would be sold, brought in the marketplace. And the third would be, of course, the in-game token. But usually they name it as an in-game asset, not just an in-game token. So these would be the three primarily sources for any Web3 blockchain game to suffice and survive for their ecosystem.
Right, indeed. So, right, and that maps onto different creator economies. So, as you gave the example of gaming, but it can similarly map on to other social media kind of
Exactly.
economy or even learner economy.
Exactly.
A similar format can follow there. Indeed. So, what does it? What does this change or this entire paradigm shift happening? What does that mean for a creator? If there's a creator out there, how how does their life change and how does everything change for them?
Okay. So first of all, of course, like I said, the two aspects that would basically change is the right to ownership to my content, in the sense that, if I am the one who's writing the blog, it should only belong to me, right? Why does any third platform come in between there? So the first aspect would, of course, be the ownership of your own content. Secondly, would be the monetization factor. Right now, we've seen how any third party platform, any middleman takes a cut out of your own creation, because they're providing a service to connect the creator and the fans, right? But in the creator economy in Web3, I won't have a middleman. Since all the platforms would be built on Web3, I would basically be the person who's gaining all the monetization rights, all the monetization benefits of the content that I am producing. So that would be the second benefit. The third benefit would, of course, be the security and privacy of my content, because the content would itself be embedded in some sort of code within the smart contract. It would be very difficult for that content to be copied, because it would ultimately point back to the content that I've already created. So it would be very difficult for somebody else to monetize the creation that I have, which is, of course, happening right now in this space. The fourth one would be how these revenues would be shared. Uh, I won't have to have a third party platform to decide which revenues goes to which person. If we are in a collaborative group, all of those revenue models, all of those benefits and value each person has would automatically be embedded into that smart contract code. So everybody would basically be having their revenue share just from that smart contract. And the fifth one, I feel, is what I said before, the new innovations that this creator economy in Web3 introduces, which is, NFTs as collectible, tickets as collectible, exclusive rights and privilege with the creators, access to private rooms, a different sort of interaction that happens because of this whole paradigm shift, and of course, how we can niche it down. Till now, Web 2, like I said, was about these broader domains and broader scales, but Web 3 can actually niche it down a very big domain. For example, music, it can niche down to subdomains and create bigger communities around it. So apart from the three main problems that we have in Web 2 as far as creator economy is concerned, about ownership, about monetization rights, and about privacy and security. Of course, the creator economy in Web3 eliminates that, but it also brings up all these different new kinds of innovation that spruces up.
Indeed. So creators essentially get a new medium
Exactly.
of connecting and telling presenting their work, an entirely new medium
Exactly.
in the form of NFTs, in the form of data they own. So
Yeah.
indeed, and also we would see the very true form or the true possibilities of this creator economy when all these platforms become interoperable and you can move your assets from
Yeah.
say one game to another. You
Yeah.
can move your content from one platform to another, your followers from one platform to another.
Yeah.
So that is the ultimate vision behind this. And so,
Right.
what are your views on that, and what kind of work do you see happening in the industry today to enable such an interoperable ecosystem?
So, like I said, whether we talk about play to earn games, whether we talk about all of this creator economy in Web3, or even social media platforms being built on Web3, like I said, we're still at a very naive stage. We still have a lot to go, or a lot to be matured. Um, because these platforms, even when we see in Web2, have been operating since a lot of time, right? And these have features that are yet to be explored for Web3. So while there's a lot of potential, we still have a long way to go. Secondly, when you talk about so what was the question originally? Sorry.
The interoperability
Right.
of assets.
Yeah. Right. So one thing that I'm seeing right now in this space is how layer 0 blockchain solutions are being built, layer 2 solutions, and the ZK rollups and everything that we have, right? That's being built. of course, the interoperability will be a very strong factor in how I want to transfer, or how I want to transfer the value that my content brings across these different chains. But right now, we are also seeing solutions of layer 2 scaling solutions, layer 0 blockchain solutions, upon which the entire layer 1 blockchain can be built. For example, we're seeing some layer 0 solutions upon which the entire Bitcoin or Ethereum can be built to a new, So you're right, that a certain sort of interoperability needs to happen, for this to optimize, or for this to maximize in terms of the optimum solution. At the same time, all of these things are also happening with layer 2 and layer 0 solutions, sharding solutions. So eventually all of this is happening, but like I said, we're still in a very early stage. There's a long way to go, before we can actually because even these solutions that we're seeing right now, there's a lot of security problems, there's a lot of scaling problems that's also happening, and of course they're still at a primary stage, in the sense that not many people are being actively exploring and building upon it. If we see a substantial amount of users that are actually building upon these solutions, we'd also see the subsequent problems that would arise, right? Yes, interoperability needs to be there, but it's also happening with these solutions.
Right. Indeed. So as of today, the technology is not completely there. I think we're building it, we're making it more secure, more scalable, and then probably uh, we shall see its true form. And also, so now coming to this one particular aspect of the user experience that changes because of Web3. And today there are certain issues in terms of user experience. So one would be the wallet itself. It's not very user friendly. You require some education for a new person. Also, you would probably have to save your private keys and so on that aspect. So that's one challenge to the onboarding or the mass adoption of this. And so what are your views on how these user experience or technology challenges are going to be solved in the near future to enable mass adoption of Web3?
Right. So one is awareness, of course, and education. That would be one of the primarily requirements of how, if we want to onboard a large amount of users, and to have that experience as secure as possible. And the second is, we are also seeing solutions like ENS, right? The name service being built for Web3, where you don't really need to put your entire wallet address, but you can actually create a small username, and then it sort of brings this user friendliness into the quotient, where you can transfer money, transfer your digital assets just with that username, instead of putting in the whole wallet things. So of course, awareness and education, but at the same time, I feel that all of these services of ENS, domains, and everything that's already building its momentum, all of these solutions are eventually going to help onboard the users that we need for a significant shift to Web3, because we just keep talking about Web3, but I think the shift will happen when users will actually start onboarding it, right? When users will start actually using those applications that we built and that we keep repeatedly talking about. So a significant amount of shift is going to happen when education awareness along with these services like ENS would be sort of there in that ecosystem of Web3 itself, for making it as easy as users to possible to onboard. So yeah.
Right, indeed. And so with that, Pooja, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
And a very informative talk for our audience. And it was great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Prateek. Thank you for inviting me, and it was really great to interact with you.